A 20% discount on all Boosty subscriptions starts today. Have time to purchase a subscription where exclusive Naruto Lemon videos will be released at a bargain price. Chapter 11 to 14. Enjoy your viewing. Finding a place with any vegetation in the world of ravens is a difficult matter. It is intended for warning, for making predictions about imminent death, but not for life. Crows do not need fresh grass or the touch of the rays of the sun, which here is pale, like a bottom-dwelling fish. They live outside of time and space, fixated on their purpose, and on the search for those who dare to contact them. Only in the very depths of the world can one find a temple created from intertwined tree trunks and branches, where giant crow's elders lived. Naruto probably had too much free time, because she searched and searched for a place where grass grew, where she could stretch out not on bare stones and silicon chips, where you can see anything other than bare rocks and bony trees, dead, with paw-like branches sticking out in different directions, tenacious, black. Frightening. Naruto wasn't afraid. In this world she felt free, and found a secluded corner. Thin, gray-yellow, slightly withered grass, hard even in appearance, not to mention tactile sensations. In its dim frame, an apple tree stretched towards the sun, forever blooming and never bearing fruit. Elderson told Naruto about this. The apple tree lost its petals all year round, but never completely flew off. And apple ovaries never appeared, even the smallest ones. Nature itself forgot about life here, crushed by the gloomy forebodings that the crows carried on their wings. Itachi lay nearby on a good quality black cloak spread out for the two. He was sleeping and a light breeze blew across his body, wet with sweat. In the world of ravens, their characteristic pale, inexpressively gloomy summer reigned. Naruto sat next to her and looked at her husband with pain. On his leather-covered hands, so dense and tight that one could count all the bones and trace the veins with the naked eye. The body still remained strong, hot, but these hands gave away the man's head. Something was eating him from the inside. Naruto wasn't a doctor, and she couldn't figure out what was going on. I just felt some kind of illness inside. But I had no idea how to treat it, or what it was all about. Therefore, she ran her fingers over the wet, cooling skin, caressed the blue veins and wreaths, kissed the knuckles of her flexible, long fingers, and traced the calluses on her wide palms. The memory of how they, somewhat rough, slid across her skin, sent a sweet shiver through her body. Naruto inhaled his scent, and Itachi's own scent, herbal and slightly musky. Amazing combination. The taste of his neck, his wrists, and shoulders immediately appeared on her tongue, into which she pressed her lips in moments of passion. There was no one in the world except ravens, and they did not have human feelings. And so Naruto was not embarrassed by her naked appearance, her nipples hardened by the wind, when she bent over to inhale the smell of her husband's hair. Itachi's black eyes flew open, and the man bit into the exposed mouth. Greedy and at the same time leisurely. As only a Sharingan owner can, quickly receive a lot of information and sensations, and then slowly sort the data into pieces. Itachi caressed, touched sensitive points of the body, pressed him to himself, and Naruto was absorbed into the cool and wet chest, kissing him back. And I felt my heart pounding in my ears. Not from a lack of oxygen, from the burning, painful happiness of being alone with a loved one. She wanted to weave herself into his body, grow into him with her soul and heart, get under his skin and into her very insides, so that she could always be near him, feel him, understand him, kiss him. She sobbed as she rested her hands on her husband's chest and sat on his thighs. And she directed his flesh into herself. I almost screamed from the burning feeling of fullness, not being alone together. And instead of a scream, a thin squeak escaped from the lips, interrupted by a sob and a kiss. Naruto didn't know how to move, but she felt it. Somewhere at the level of instincts I felt how it should be done correctly. And Itachi, his hands, his lips, there was no cruelty or harshness in them. He guided her, supported her, taught her, and studied with her himself. And all this is as if the wife were a fragile porcelain cup. His gaze. Naruto gasped once again, meeting black eyes. And I couldn't get enough of these emotions. admiration, tenderness, and a certain reverence. Itachi seemed to not believe that she was nearby, under his hands, and dreamed of receiving proof of the truth of what was happening. And he looked at her like that, caressed her with his gaze so reverently and tenderly, as if a fragile forest goddess was in his arms. And she kissed the chapped, bitten lips, traced with her fingers the wrinkles on her cheeks, her high forehead, her beautiful cheekbones. Just to make him believe. Into her. Into yourself? In them. The Kazakage is dead, Itachi said later, when they were just lying in an embrace. Naruto raised her head from her husband's chest, nodded in understanding, and lowered it again. A smile touched the man's lips as he looked at his woman, disheveled, with kissed, bright lips. Proud and beautiful, persistent and sensitive. And very strong, both in body and spirit. And she belonged to him. Not because her father wanted it, but because she wanted it herself. And this made a proud warmth spread throughout the body, in the chest. Because he belonged to her too. It's a pity it won't last long. Itachi pulled away from unpleasant thoughts. No time or place, Naruto could sense his changed mood. Now it's clear what he's up to, the wife said in the meantime, biting her lip, thinking about something. Orochimaru appeared at the exam. Considering that he can take on the guise of another person, now I can guess where he is hiding. And what are you planning? Itachi responded, hugging his wife tighter. She faces one more test. And it wasn't about the exam at all. Naruto sensitively sensed her husband's anxiety, raised her head, stroked his cheek, noting that it was time for him to shave the stubble pleasantly tingled the delicate skin of his fingers. Don't worry, we can handle it. Now his target is not us, but the third. Itachi shook his head. This won't stop him from combining business with pleasure, you know. Sasuke and I will be careful. Besides, she smiled slyly. Shursui and the Uzumaki family will soon join us. How do you plan to distribute forces? I'll send Karen to the academy, Keiko to the Hokage. I think he'll just change with us. Naruto narrowed her eyes. Itachi raised an eyebrow. Don't underestimate the power of the third. I'm only basing it on the information you collected about Orochimaru. Naruto chuckled and became gloomy. And on the data sent to me by Keiko. I asked her to find out more about Sannin when he left your organization. Did you know that he dabbles in the Second's technique, Unholy Resurrection? Naruto nodded. My husband didn't know. The peculiarities of this technique are that it requires genetic material, complete concentration, and correct execution of all stages, but then, you can control any number of those called upon, regardless of their strengths and capabilities. So, he will call. Itachi was not called a genius for nothing. He understood his wife perfectly. If there is an opportunity to choose from the strongest shinobi in the world, who exactly will the snake Sannin summon? Of course, the best. Moreover, given his experiments and work for Root, he is probably provided with genetic materials. Yes. And to one of them I want to say, thank you, for our marriage. And hit Kyuubi hard. Itachi chuckled again and kissed the top of his pouting wife's head. Yes, the character of Uzumaki cannot be interrupted by the surname Uchiha. But Shursui will have to be left in the squad, so his abilities will not shine. Naruto looked at the sky, from which a raven was planning to approach the couple. I have to go. This means that the Chunin finally came to let us out of the tower. She stretched sweetly and winked slyly when she caught her husband's greedy gaze. It's nice to feel wanted. Itachi chuckled, stood up and kissed her goodbye. See you later, Ai. See you later, Koi. Naruto hugged him tightly and moved into the real world. She sat down on the bed and smiled. Ai and Koi, two words that denoted different aspects of falling in love. Ai more reverence, respect, reverence and complete dedication. Itachi showed that he did not limit her in anything, that he belonged completely to her. And Koi are a more selfish shade. Neither Uzumaki nor Uchiha give up theirs. And the man understood this. Sister? Sasuke knocked on the door. It's time, Iruka-sensei has arrived. He says we have one more qualifying stage ahead. Got it, I'm coming. Naruto straightened her clothes, shook them off, and got rid of invisible wrinkles. She pulled her hair back into a knot at the back of her head, although the long, thin strands still remembered the touches of Itachi, who fingered them slowly and gently, almost holding his breath. They did not open the scrolls even when the deadline approached. Naruto was just out of spite curious about what the organizers would do. In addition, she learned the philosophy of earth and heaven by heart. A combination of opposites, making up for a deficiency, either strength or mental abilities. If he and Itachi were correct in their predictions, the third would not be present at the final stage of the exam. She probably should have warned the old man, but Naruto was sure that he was aware of the abilities and desires of his former student. Moreover, in choosing between the safety and well-being of the clan and one single person, even the Hokage, Naruto made a choice in favor of the family. No matter what the third says, it was under him that the clan of the founder of the village was slaughtered. It was he who sent her husband on a risky espionage mission. And it is his ANBU who closely monitor every step of the head of the Uchiha, which cannot be said about the other clans. They are too predictable and the third doesn't control them as much. But such a policy harms the plans of Naruto herself. I wonder who will become the next Hokage. Danzo will definitely not be allowed into this position. The elders will not be able to manipulate him. Both Hamura and Koharu are well aware of this fact. We need a well-known person, but not burdened with clan upbringing, so that he does not see the whole background of what is happening, so that it can be controlled. Only Sanin candidates are suitable, in extreme cases Hatake Kakashi. But they won't risk choosing him while there are other options. Still a member of the clan, who knows what his father managed to teach him before he died. The ideal option is Jiraiya. Clanless, an excellent intelligence officer, but no politician, he will not calculate the results of his actions and the laws adopted. But at the same time, he is a well-known figure, a strong shinobi, to support the reputation of the Kage of Leaf. Or Tsunade, but I haven't heard from the great doctor for 10 years now. And she is a member of the clan, old enough to contradict the elders and put a spoke in their wheels. She is a descendant of the founder, they will not argue with her the same way as with Jiraiya. Naruto rubbed her temples. Numerous paths of possibilities and probabilities lay before my eyes. The most striking, possible, ones had to be calculated, but no more than 2 steps forward, because circumstances could change again. There was enough information, but these thoughts gave me a headache. We need to get together and solve problems as they arise. Shursui and Keiko should have already arrived. Now they are probably waiting for her in the clan quarter. It will be necessary to resolve the issue with them, as agreed with Itachi, to distribute them to duty stations. Keiko will be an ideal spy. The Hokage simply won't allow him to push a sensor of such power somewhere into the periphery. Shursui will remain a private in the squad. There is no need to highlight his techniques. Karen is at the academy. Sakura is in the hospital. Naruto herself is on the clan council. And Sasuke is among the heirs of the families. Almost all areas of Konoha's life are covered, constant information comes from them, which allows you to build a tree of probabilities. All that remains is to survive what the Sung-Suna and Orochimaru had planned. How else, if not their union, can justify the fact that the snake is hiding under the mask of the Kazekage? Naruto sighed, fixed her hair and left. Towards another selection test. Phew, finally! Sasuke rolled his eyes as they left the closed training ground. Too many genin passed through the forest of death, so the Hokage decided to hold another qualifying round to weed out half. This was a great opportunity for Naruto to watch his potential opponents in action. Neji was amazing, to be sure. Excellent technique, beautiful, precise movements, not a single unnecessary thing. Hyuga didn't flinch and beat his cousin with a straight face. I certainly feel sorry for Hinata, but she is too soft. An heiress can afford something like this, but not the head of the clan, not with the chosen Hyuga policy. However, these are just nuances. The Uchiha had long suspected that Hanabi, Hinata's younger sister, would become the head. You should show yourself and your confidence constantly, and not with a kick. Hinata needed incentive, support, help. A greenhouse flower that grew under a cover, not knowing the thunderstorms and hurricanes of the surrounding world. Her father labeled her as a weak shinobi and treated her as such. And Hinata allowed herself to put it on. Naruto didn't understand this. How were they supposed to raise Haim if she became like this? A typical Hyuga clan education and upbringing would not have produced such a blunder. After all, Hanabi and Niji, and the rest of the Byakugan players, are different. But they were forged to the same standard. It's all poetry. Naruto's attention was drawn to Gaara no Dog, the son of the Kazekage of the Sand Village, and part-time Jinchuriki one-tailed. Kankuro, his brother, enlightened that the raccoon does not allow its host to sleep. Insomnia leads to mental disorders, which could not but affect others. And here Naruto suspected the guilt not so much of the tailed one, but of the rest of the inhabitants of Suna. The causes of insomnia are stress, constant nervous tension, and mental activity. If everything happened as Kankuro said, then they tried to destroy Gaara from childhood, which forced him to be on guard almost around the clock, which led to nervous tension, which led to insomnia, which led to irritability and unmotivated aggression, which affected others, which again made me want to kill the Jinchuriki. A vicious circle in which Gaara has been moving for many years. The Sunavite's experiments with the unborn child of the Kazekage and his wife led to too much fusion of the tailed one with the fetus. That's why Gaara is surrounded by a sand shield. The power of Ichibi penetrated into its core, into its channels, and became a part of it too. Even if the bijou is removed, the guy will still have power over the sand. Although it is not a fact that Gaara will not die during extraction. It's a pity for the dog, but it's a shame for sure. But if we consider the situation in terms of benefits and harm for the village and the Uchiha clan itself, Suna brought her main weapon, which means they plan to use it in battle, along with Orochimaru. If Gaara dies, he will certainly take Shikaku with him. Suna's few ninjutsu masters have long specialized only in scroll puppets. They do not have anyone who could seal the bijou into another vessel. If Gaara dies due to their fusion with the One Tail, Shikaku will not be revived for much longer than usual. My own thoughts, cynicism and rationalism made me sick. When did she become so cruel and cold-blooded? When did you forget how to take other people's misfortunes to heart? Probably when I set my priorities. There is nothing more important than Sasuke, Itachi and the Uchiha clan. She lives, works and breathes only for them. The death of the third is beneficial to her, since supervision of the clan will cease, and the alliance of old mummies, who are mistakenly called the Konoha Council of Elders, will weaken significantly. Even if the third survives, Orochimaru will die, which is also not bad. Gaara, his death is beneficial, since it is the bijou that the Akatsuki are hunting for an unknown purpose. Itachi talked about a world full of light and love, about pain that will cleanse the current world. But at the same time he chuckled and rolled his eyes so expressively that Naruto just laughed. An interesting philosophy to cover up your own desire to become stronger. In any case, they won't get the One Tail in the next few years, and then it will be possible to destroy Akatsuki one by one and return Itachi to the village. Gaara doesn't even have to be pushed. He is tired, incredibly tired, and can no longer fully fight. His teammates will do everything on their own. And the released bijou will capture and absorb the boy's personality, while becoming temporarily vulnerable. Cruel? Maybe. But Gaara is no one to her. What about the similarity of destinies? What about the persecution of village residents, the same pain? Naruto grinned. The fox couldn't help but pick it up. This is a red infection. Fates, childhood, all Jinchuriki are similar. But she didn't give up. She gritted her teeth and walked forward, even barefoot across the fragments of her world. Even though it hurt, even though everything was torn apart inside, she didn't give up. Even when she was alone, she did not believe that she was a monster and a demon. We are shinobi-ku. Each of us strives for our own benefit. It's impossible to save everyone. I won't sacrifice a chance for my husband and brother for some red-haired boy from Suna. She will not do anything on purpose, she will not push. But it won't interfere either. Let everything go as it goes. She has matured. Excuse me. Naruto snapped out of her memories. It turns out that they had already approached the grill restaurant where Asuma often hung out. Sarutobi and his team. Sasuke, seeing that his sister was deep in thought, quietly took her hand and led her along. Sakura looked depressed, almost crying. Of course, she missed the reason for Naruto's upset. It's okay, Sakura. Kakashi put his hand on the top of the girl's head. You fought well, especially for a medic. Naruto nodded mentally, catching the gist of the team's conversation. Yes, Sakura. Plus, doctors don't always have to fight. They are too important for every squad to send them to the front line. She smiled. You fought just fine. Sakura beamed. Then let's celebrate that Naruto and Sasuke made it to the finals. She clapped her hands. Of course. Hatake nodded. Surprisingly, the unsociable Jounin agreed unquestioningly. Naruto chuckled cheerfully. You need to take your mind off heavy thoughts and relax. Allow yourself to rest for at least a couple of hours. She already missed Itachi. She was not allowed to rest properly. As soon as the first skewer of grilled vegetables was finished, a shinobi appeared with the Uchiha mark on his clothes. He landed on his knee in front of the girl, bowed, then rushed forward and whispered in her ear, barely moving his lips so that the curious Sharingan Kakashi didn't know anything. Naruto-sama, 2 people came to the clan quarter, about whom you informed Ryu-san. They are waiting for your return to take an oath. Naruto nodded. Thank you. The shinobi bowed and disappeared. The girl turned to her teammates. Please forgive me, urgent matters. Sasuke's teacher has arrived. Mama, Naruto, you hardly communicate with us. Hatake shook his head with regret. Sorry, Kakashi-san. The Uchiha smiled guiltily. Due to the exam, too many organizational matters fell through. I promise to be more attentive in the future. I'll take your word for it. The only visible eye narrowed. Naruto nodded, ruffled Sasuke's hair and left. Her brother caught up with her after 100 meters. Teacher? What kind of teacher? Will he prepare me for the final stage? He bombarded with questions, somehow miraculously maintaining the Uchiha's imperturbable face. Naruto laughed lightly, quietly, almost imperceptibly. Not only. In the future, he will train you separately, in clan order. Sasuke nodded, accepting the vague answer. You can't talk about more while the Hokage and Root Anbu are keeping an eye on them. Naruto grabbed her brother and moved to the house with a shunshin. The guests were already waiting there. A beaming Karen did not let go of her mother's hand. Keiko, a little more exhausted than usual, but usually proud and confident, straightened her back and squared her shoulders. Her gaze, both cheerful and mocking in an adult way, turned to the blue eyes of the former Uzumaki. No injuries or scratches, which means they managed to get away undisturbed. Naruto smiled warmly and hugged her friend. It's good to see you, Keiko. Me too, Uzumaki Uchiha-san, the woman sang, returning the hug. Naruto turned her gaze to the third member of the company that had arrived. Her heart ached with melancholy. How she missed him. Although now no one would be able to recognize the legendary Shunshin in the Uzumaki Gaishur's way. His short cropped hair turned tomato red, and half his face was hidden by a mask, like Kakashi's. The left temple was adorned with a writhing blue tattoo seal, slightly distorting the facial features. And only the black eyes sparkled cheerfully, looked at the girl with greed, memorizing every feature anew. Sasuke glared at the newcomer with a dissatisfied look, but remained silent. And he only clenched his fists harder. His face became more and more imperturbable, which spoke of inner anger. Naruto squeezed her brother's shoulder for a moment, reassuringly. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, she said softly. You are tired from the road. I ask you to share shelter and food with me. All three bowed. Thank you, Uchiha-san. Keiko took the floor as the head of a small family. But first we would like to put an end to all the organizational issues and take an oath of allegiance to you. Naruto nodded. The 3 Uzumaki dropped to one knee. Keiko's voice sounded confident, followed by Karen's voice. Shursui spoke hoarsely, probably deliberately not speaking for a long time so that no one would find out. And they all swore allegiance not to the clan, but to her, Naruto Uchiha. And only her orders will they carry out unconditionally. Naruto did not see the observers, but she knew that today everyone in the clan would know about the new addition and there would be no mistrust in them, since they managed to kneel before the head. The girl took the vows, the Uzumaki rose from their knees. Please follow me. Naruto led them inside the house. She showed rooms prepared on her orders, 2 bathrooms, even a small hot spring, which brought Itachi to the surface with the help of Suiton. Guests could use whatever they wanted. She herself quickly rinsed herself in the master's shower, washing off the imprint of the forest of death with boiling water, changed into a house dress and went downstairs to prepare dinner. It's good to be home again. Although there were paper piles waiting for her in her office. She caught Sasuke's presence in the first seconds. The brother stood on the threshold of the kitchen and did not dare to speak. Something was disturbing him, bothering him. Naruto understood what exactly, but gave the younger the opportunity to figure it out for himself. After all, in order to correctly formulate a question, you need to understand perfectly what exactly is bothering you. The reasons for Sasuke's anxiety lay much deeper than simple concern for the safety of the clan. Naruto wanted her brother to admit it on his own. Do you trust them, sister? Sasuke finally asked quietly and came closer. The oil sizzled in the frying pan and Naruto threw in the vegetables, dried with a thin towel. She added some spices and savored the taste before turning to her brother. Yes, seriously, eye to eye? Sasuke nodded and bit his lip. And Naruto couldn't stand it, she smiled. In her doubts, her little brother is still the same charming little boy as she remembered him at the academy. I have known Keiko for a very long time and trust her. She helped me in her time, she said softly, touching her chin with her fingers to lift Sasuke's face. I have no reason to doubt them. In the black eyes there is fear, insane, almost horror. And this makes it even sweeter and more scary to realize that you are an anchor for someone, the center of a small universe. Sasuke built his destroyed world from fragments around Naruto. His past world belonged to his brother, his current one to his sister. And it hurts to betray such trust, to make a mistake in something. Therefore, Sasuke became Naruto's new priority. He was her family. For an orphan who grew up in an orphanage, where she ran away from the humiliating screams and insults of the rest of the world, there was nothing more important than family. A priori. And Sasuke was afraid that his anchor would go to others, to relatives. After all, Naruto had somewhere to go, and he had no one. Silly. You are mine, she said quietly. And nothing will change that. And you? Hesitantly. And I am yours with Itachi. Relief appeared in his brother's eyes. He hugged Naruto, buried himself in her shoulder, and breathed noisily, but the girl did not feel the moisture on her dress. He doesn't cry, he's holding back even now. Her stupid little brother. Naruto stroked the crew of stubborn hair, sighed and raised her eyes to the ceiling. Something began to pinch them suspiciously. Sasuke needed more guidelines for life, more stability and family. But after the death of the clan, he did not trust anyone or anything, making exceptions only for Naruto, who was close to him, and Itachi, who was as distant as the moon. Once again she was convinced that she was doing everything right. That her choice is justified. She can sacrifice her own mercy, drive it far into the depths of her heart, kill pity in herself, if necessary, in order to save the life of her family. She will cope, she will survive. Gotta do it. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? The guests waited patiently while they hugged each other. I hope we didn't interfere? Sasuke winked cheerfully Keiko. The guy blushed a little, but managed to maintain a serene appearance. The rebellious heart of Naruto's little brother calmed down for a while. The woman changed into a beautiful scarlet kimono with a dark pattern of flying leaves. On the back is the Uzumaki clan's mon, a spiral that has become part of the leaf symbol. Karen chose a simple light dress with large dark seams, and Naruto for some reason remembered a childhood photograph of her mother, Kushina, which she managed to get from the Academy archives. Shursui limited himself to a dark kimono. He never took off his mask. His hair glistened damply. The fabric underneath was already a little wet. Like Itachi, Shursui did not like to dry himself after a shower, preferring to dry naturally. And Naruto, after this natural path, had to chase clones around the house to wipe the floors. But she didn't mind. She enjoyed running through and combing Itachi's damp hair. No, come on in. I think it's worth getting to know each other again. Naruto put out plates and bowls with salad, fried vegetables, rice, and warmed meat. Sasuke, this is Keiko, Karen you know, and Shi. They all belong to the Uzumaki clan. Nice to meet you. Sasuke bowed. Karen blushed and adjusted her glasses in embarrassment, while Keiko's eyes sparkled with joy. The lunch took place in a calm, cozy atmosphere. The whole company was too hungry to be distracted by extraneous conversations at first, and after that they simply did not want to spoil their appetite. Moreover, Naruto promised them a wonderful cheesecake. Sasuke, after talking with his sister, again looked at the world more positively and simply. And he didn't even turn up his nose when he caught the interested glances of Karen, who had heard a lot about Sasuke from her fiancé. But he didn't like Uzumaki. Oh, how he didn't like him. Naruto exchanged glances with Keiko, both women having difficulty holding back their laughter. Sasuke was jealous, believing that the stranger was claiming what belonged to his brother. Shursui did not understand the reasons for Sasuke's behavior, his angry, dissecting gaze. At this rate, my daughter won't have a betrothed, Keiko whispered, wrinkling her nose funny. Naruto laughed softly. Not funny. You should have heard how she and Karen quarreled. The woman rolled her eyes. The listening daughter blushed. Shi has only been talking about you lately. I really miss you. Naruto giggled again. Sasuke's glances at Shi became even more suspicious, Keiko's giggling more unbearable. But Karen cast a questioning glance, first at her mother, then at her distant relative. She definitely liked Naruto, and she didn't want to suspect her of anything. Okay. When everyone finished eating, Naruto said, getting up. We should move to the living room and immediately clarify all the doubtful points there so that no questions arise in the future. I agree. Keiko stood up with a flexible movement. Karen, daughter, you shouldn't glare at Naruto like that. She is married to our best friend Shi, and would not exchange her husband for anyone. Karen blushed terribly when she realized that her thoughts and doubts did not remain a secret to anyone. But Shursui acted like a real loving man. He hugged the girl by the shoulders and lightly kissed her on the cheek, whispering something. Karen looked at him and nodded. Well, isn't it lovely? In the living room they sat around a low table. Behind the slightly open door of the shoji, a stream gurgled. The bamboo bowl, filling, hit the stones and overflowed with water. Cicadas chirped, although it was not yet evening. Birds sang in the treetops. Naruto clones rustling comfortably in the kitchen washing dishes. Another one brought the documents to the original and disappeared. Naruto handed out a shot glass to each of the guests. Here are your official documents for residence in Konoha and so on. Keiko, the Hokage has already requested you into his service. You can join ANBU or just take the Jonin exam. It will just pass in 2 months. Isn't it necessary to assemble a team and send it to another village for this? Asked Sasuke. Yes. Naruto nodded, turning to her brother sitting next to her. That's what they usually do. But this is more of a tradition, a ritual, than a real test. Exams may also be held in the village. Even though Keiko does not have official confirmation of completed missions and their ranks, she is no longer at the age to remain a genin. And her abilities do not allow her to be sent to weed other people's gardens. Karen giggled, looking at her mother, who was threatening her relative with her fist. So choose. Jonin. The woman nodded. I don't want to immediately get involved in behind-the-scenes games. Great. Uzumaki rubbed her hands. Fill out the applications, I will sign the permission, since you are now part of my clan. Karen. The girl stood up straight, folded her hands on her knees. you will have to retake all the exams at the academy to confirm your genin rank and receive the bandage. Then you will be assigned to the team. The girl nodded, her eyes burning with the desire to quickly show herself. Naruto couldn't help but smile at the enthusiasm. She turned to Shui and became serious. "Shi, you will have to become part of the squad, carry out our business missions." She emphasized the necessary words with intonation. The man nodded understandingly. "He can't glow. And I would also like to ask you to train Sasuke." The brother next to him tensed, prepared to object and defend his right to independence from the suspicious Uzumaki, but the following words threw him into a stupor. "Try to teach him at least Chidori and the basic techniques of Katan for the final stage. And chase him with Kenjutsu. You can practice on the training field near the mansion, you know where it is." She watched with pleasure the change of emotions on her brother's face, how gradually all the pieces of the puzzle came together for him into a single whole. A man's too close and long-standing acquaintance with his sister, possession of a sword and right ton, knowledge of Chidori, knowledge of the locations of clan buildings. And the name is Shi, which meant chestnut. That was the name, self-sacrifice. A nameless shinobi who protects the world from the shadows. "This is the true shinobi," Shui said softly, the scarlet pattern of the Sharingan lit up in his black eyes. Sasuke shuddered, he had heard this phrase too. "I saw this pattern too." Taking a shaky breath, he threw himself on the man's neck. "Shi! I'm so glad you're back. The little one who has only one road to his brother in Akatsuki." Finished the report on Sasuke's successes Shui. Naruto put down the ninja and kunai with which she had been practicing her father's techniques, and looked at her friend in surprise. Surprised and fun. For the last month before the final stage, Shui raced Sasuke at the clan head's personal training ground. Contrary to the rules, candidates for the title of Chunin were not told who they would fight with, so they decided to teach them how to resist everything at once, from the distance techniques of Temari no Dog to the tough contact duel of Niji. Naruto could only hope that his brother wouldn't get Gaara. Only this was not enough, honestly. Not everyone in seasoned shinobi can cope with an unstable Jinchuriki, let alone yesterday's genin. Even if he is as talented as her little brother. But something didn't work out between them and the coach, and a conflict arose. The Uchihas did not admit it. Keiko shrugged her shoulders, Karen giggled and remained silent, like a partisan. Even torture with Naruto's homemade cakes didn't help. And Sasuke decided to use his entire rather large arsenal of shinobi-style jokes and traps on the coach. Moreover, he did not always use chakra, which made it difficult to find traps for the Sharingan. What did he do again? She grinned. "You think this is fun?" Shui narrowed his eyes disapprovingly. Naruto rolled her eyes. "I believe that you are old enough not to be fooled by a child's provocation, Shi-kun. Naruto-sama, haven't you tried to spank him?" The man inquired in a tone. "No." The girl shrugged and looked innocently and uncomprehendingly at her interlocutor. "He always behaved exemplary with me, and with the teachers from the detachment too." Shui gritted his teeth. "Better tell me what you quarreled about." The Uchiha chuckled and shook his head. "He still thinks that I have designs on you. I remembered how I often came to you in Itachi's house. And he thinks that Karen is just a cover." Naruto looked at her friend condescendingly. "Sasuke is too smart for such stupidity. But that doesn't stop him from intimidating me." Shui sighed, looking doomedly at the passing clouds. "Okay, let this be practicing the technique of setting traps on your own and enemy territory," Naruto decided peacefully. Shui snorted. "I knew that you would be on his side." "Still would." The girl picked up. "It's too early to send him to his brother. Let him practice on you first." From somewhere in the house a heartfelt cry was heard. "Sister, I adore you." The Uchiha looked at each other. Naruto spread her arms, Shui sighed once again in defeat. "Don't worry, this is his way of relieving tension before the final stage. Nobody knows who might get it. I don't want Sasuke to repeat Lee's fate." The voice sounded muffled and muffled. Rock Lee became Gaara's opponent at the midterms. And the Jinchuriki once again lost his temper. He didn't just beat or stun his opponent. With his sand, Gaara crushed Lee's arm and leg and broke his spine. Until now, before my eyes there was a mess of meat, bones and muscles into which the body of the future Master Tai had turned. Lee was hospitalized and no one knew whether he would walk again. Nobody even mentioned the work of a shinobi. They were afraid the guy wouldn't stand it. Lee came to his senses and even began to train a little, although in doing so he only harmed his body. However, doctors insisted, there was no hope. He will no longer become a shinobi, and he will have difficulty walking. The rustle of leaves in the wind, the lacy shadows of the trees that covered the training ground on all sides, resembled the swaying waves of the sea. At least that's what Naruto thought. She had never been to the sea in her life. The usually orderly area for practicing techniques now resembled a plowed field. Potholes, deep ditches, almost trenches. Tatters and scraps of a once thick, velvety grass carpet. Crooked branches and broken branches stuck straight out of the ground. What were you trying to reproduce here? Shursui asked with interest, looking around at the disgrace that the head had created. And which subordinates still have to level with Doton. I'm practicing my father's technique. Shadow division of Shuriken. Kakashi told me about it, although he didn't remember all the seals. I had to visit Aburama and Akimichi, ask them for a certain price. Of course, the heads of the clans agreed to share information with the girl. Now their barriers were also in perfect order, and Naruto knew the chain of seals that her father used. The Rasengan as a technique is, of course, excellent. The ideal Rasengan is even better. But these are all contact types, and if she gets Niji or Gaara, it's better not to approach them, to hit them from afar. It was lucky that Shursui owned futon. He helped with some of the wind techniques. And how? Naruto through the shuriken made a seal. 1,000 shadow spears loosened the ground, leaving a broken pit there. Shursui whistled. The destructiveness of the technology was amazing. The thought that came to mind made him squint his eyes suspiciously again. The technology shouldn't have taken so much time, especially from you. You have been operating with shadow cloning since childhood. So what did you spend your time on, if it's not a secret, Naruto-sama? The Uchiha chuckled. You can't fool another genius of the clan. She threw the shuriken again, made the seals, and strengthened each copy with wind chakra. Now it was not just a pit, a trace from a powerful explosive, a small, deep crater. And everything depends on the amount of wind invested, on the shinobi's ability to control this technique. Naruto tiredly sat down on the ground and leaned against a tree. For the past month, she has been training not to faint from exhaustion every time she uses her father's technique with wind. At first it didn't work out very well. Keiko, swearing with all her heart, dragged her home every evening, put her to bed and fed her with neutral chakra. But every morning Naruto again, persistently and stubbornly went to train. My father's technique was amazing. It was not for nothing that he was called a genius. It was not for his beautiful eyes that he became a hero. Destructive, you can hit it from afar. You can't dodge 1,000 spears at once, especially if you sharpen them with wind chakra. 5 shuriken with futon became her ceiling. Then the Uchiha inevitably fainted. But if she alternated the technique with some other attacks and slowly fed from the QB, she could fight for a long time. Every day this very time Naruto increased, forcibly stretched her reserve. To do this, it was necessary to completely empty it. The 9 tails does not count, and then fill it gradually, from the hearth. For shinobi, this method is very dangerous. You never know where and who will attack next time. With a depleted reserve they can easily kill. But Naruto was in her own quarters, safe, behind shields, so she boldly took risks. Although Keiko cursed nobly, healing more and more wounds, replenishing her reserve. It was then that Karen asked the elder Uzumaki to teach her how to merge neutral, medical, chakra into special ampoules and capsules. Keiko thought and agreed. Both her daughter's practice and her reserve will also stretch. Although much more Uzumaki. While Naruto was practicing her blows, Karen was meditating, distilling her own chakra into a neutral state and filling vessels with it to then give them to the leader. And so again and again, in a circle. Due to physiological characteristics, A lot of effort was required from Karen. She was used to treating in a specific way when bitten. The patient had to drink her chakra. For the girl herself, such forced selection caused terrible pain. Like a piece of flesh was torn off. So she planned to become a professional ironing, so that she would not have to resort to extreme measures. Shursui noted casually as Naruto sank down next to him under the tree. I know. The girl nodded calmly, looking at the clouds. Great Toad San and Jiraiya, student of the third Hokage, Konoha's best intelligence officer, and so on down the list, and so on. The news of his return did not evoke any emotions, either joyful nor negative. Burnout. As a child, Naruto sulked at her godfather, did not understand why he left her, why he did not visit her, at least occasionally. After all, he could probably tell her about his parents, about the techniques of his father and mother, about their characters. That's why he was sent on reconnaissance after the Kyuubi attack. And he didn't mind. What did you expect? That the Jinchuriki will be treated kindly, just like Minato? Sometimes grown men are so naive. Naruto leaned against the rough bark and inhaled the scent of the green, waving sea of foliage above her head. A ray of sunlight jumped across the palm and moved to the thin wrist, as if the daylight was trying to console the girl. Stupid, sentimental thoughts, somehow, childish. But Naruto liked it. That way she didn't feel completely calloused. Head of the clan. Everything will be fine. Shursui took her hand and stroked the place where the ray of sunlight touched with his thumb. Naruto sighed and leaned against her friend's shoulder. Until that moment, she didn't even realize how much she missed friendly support and participation, a strong male shoulder. Walls behind. She was constantly balancing on a rope over the abyss, threatening to fall down at great speed. Between the elders and the interests of his own clan, between the Hokage and his little, stupid brother. She was balancing to survive. Because after her death, it's scary to imagine what they can do with the last bearer of the legendary dojutsu. At least for a couple of seconds, relax, knowing that now she is not alone. Clan members and subordinates are one thing. Family, Sasuke, Itachi, Shursui, Keiko, Karen completely different. If she did not involve the children in her intrigues, then the eldest Uzumaki had already entered the service. She was registered retroactively, and awarded the rank of Jonin earlier, citing the tense atmosphere of the exam. And the woman has already begun to bring the first information. To all the hints, hidden questions about whether Keiko was okay with being used in this way, the woman smiled and condescendingly explained that she was born into a family of intelligence officers and spies. She and Karen will be used one way or another. Let their efforts go to the benefit of the family. You gave me too much, Naruto. Keiko looked seriously and openly. Protection, home, well-being, a strong and faithful companion for my daughter, who will not leave her in trouble. For this, my loyalty and devotion belongs only to you. Not your clan. Naruto closed her eyes. The calm voice of the reasonable Keiko sounded in her ears, as in reality she saw the reflections playing on the light embroidery of the scarlet kimono. Two Uzumaki women will always understand each other perfectly. Games, intrigues, politics, for them none of this mattered in the slightest. Only family and loved ones. She will try to ensure that Sasuke survives this meat grinder. Whatever it costs her. The morning of the final stage for the Chunin title came unnoticed. Naruto woke up abruptly, as if someone had pushed her arm. There was not a drop of drowsiness left in the body. The mind was surprisingly clean and clear. Into the dim room, along with the dawn frost, the first rays of the sun penetrated through the fogged glass, timid, hesitantly faded, as if they had not yet fully woken up. And the edge of the sky was already turning pink, glowing with shades of magnolia and peaches. On the other side of the bed, Sasuke was snoring comfortably, his hand clutching a strand of his sister's hair, as if even in his sleep he was afraid that Naruto would leave him. The girl stroked the tousled black locks, and the wrinkle between her brother's eyebrows, which had not gone away in recent days, smoothed out slightly. Sasuke looked so calm, so peaceful. I didn't want to disturb this morning harmony. In recent days he had been very nervous, although he tried not to show it and keep his face up. He spent all his time at the training ground, practicing Chidori, so that he would not have to waste time on acceleration. I learned to throw shurikens with seals and set Fuin traps. And many others. In the evenings, Naruto dragged the tired guy on her back, undressed him and put him to bed like a little boy. Sasuke didn't even move. But that couldn't make his anxiety go away. Even Shursui would have been glad if Sasuke scared him, but the youngest Uchiha's pranks no longer helped. So defenseless, vulnerable looking. And so prickly. After all, his transitional teenage period has begun. Of course, it was easier for shinobi, due to the fact that chakra carriers matured mentally and emotionally earlier than their peers. However, this did not cancel the influence of hormones. In the evening, on the eve of the decisive battle, he came to her bedroom, as he did after the death of the clan. And he asked to spend the night. Naruto, of course, let him under the blanket. And Sasuke clung to her with his arms and legs, like a little monkey, buried himself in his chest and began to breathe noisily. Naruto could only stroke and hug him, whisper that everything would be fine, that she wouldn't let him get hurt. And so on ad infinitum, until Sasuke fell asleep. He's not an idiot, even if he's not a genius, like Shursui and Itachi. Sasuke is smart, perceptive, knows how to read between the lines, and is subconsciously tuned to his anchor. And he saw that the exam was just a cover for something much larger. And this oppresses the sister, who cannot predict the development of events for sure. And when Naruto was worried, he began to worry too. Such a connection, frightened and at the same time pleased. This is probably what little Uzumaki dreamed of when she asked Kami at night at the orphanage for her own family. She stood up and untangled her brother from the captivity of her hair. And she quietly left the bedroom, carefully closing the door so as not to wake up Sasuke, to give the youngest Uchiha a rest. A hot shower brought me back to my senses. Naruto changed into a house dress, with her hair loose, a little damp after not completely drying, and went downstairs. Karen was still sleeping soundly. Yesterday she passed her exams at the academy, and received the headband as a genin of leaf. Everyone decided to celebrate this event together after the end of the exam, since Sasuke couldn't get enough of it. Karen could be cocky and sarcastic, and did not let anyone down, but she sensitively sensed the emotional state of the new family, and reacted to it. And she understood. Naruto did not expect such sensitivity from a child her age. Although, she is Keiko's daughter, as independent as her mother. Keiko herself and Shursui were already warming up in the courtyard. Hand-to-hand combat, a duel, more like a passerby for a dance. Naruto didn't bother them, and went into the kitchen to prepare breakfast. The layout of the mansion, donated to the newlyweds by the Uchiha, might seem strange to someone, since the light doors of the kitchen opened onto a blooming garden. However, Naruto liked the way the smell of spices mixed with the scent of flowers when cooking. She liked to place bouquets of lush blue and purple hydrangeas on the table. She also put culinary plants in a secluded corner of the garden: rosemary, basil, saffron, mint, lemongrass, and many others. Fresh, native plants gave the dishes a completely different, homemade taste. Karen promised that she would add some medicinal varieties to them, so as not to run to the hospital every time, but to prepare light pills and stimulants at home. Naruto agreed, causing the girl to shine like the sun. Maybe over time, this will also become one of the areas of business. But even if not, because the Akimichi have tightly occupied this niche, this will still allow them to reduce costs on medicines. Let a little, however, Naruto shook her head. The sun hasn't really risen yet, and the dew hasn't gone away, but she's already busy with the affairs of the clan. You have to relax sometimes, Keiko is right, otherwise she will completely drive herself away. She decided to please Sasuke with a salad of tomatoes and goat cheese, flavored with lemon juice. Although you didn't even have to bother with your brother, he was capable of eating tomatoes in any form, in any state, even semi-conscious. But Naruto loved to please him with her cooking, and Sasuke too, except he didn't lick his chopsticks. Shinobi are generally not fools when it comes to eating, especially tasty and satisfying food. This way the reserve was replenished faster. On missions, of course, you can't go wild. If you don't take into account the presence of sealing scrolls. So shinobi in a normal state are hungry shinobi. She left the miso soup to finish cooking and put a pie with wild berries in the oven. Sasuke especially loved pastries. Pastries and tomatoes. And she went into the living room. It's about 8 o'clock. The exam will begin at 10, when all the important guests will wake up and take their seats. And at the same time, the genin will be a little nervous. There is silence in the house, broken only by quiet cries from the street and the ticking of the clock on the chest of drawers. Naruto no longer remembered who gave them. Another seal of belonging to the Uchiha clan. From the chest of drawers she took out an old, well-deserved hard comb, a comb with iron teeth. She separated a thin strand from the total mass and ran it through it, easily, naturally, from beginning to end. Her hair had already become like Kushina's, long, almost to the floor. When she sat at a low table, it flowed onto the mat, curling around it, like fancy tentacles or streams of water in the sway-tun technique Itachi. Warm, almost alive, soft at normal times and harsh right after a shower, they seemed to be saturated to the very center with wild chakra kyubi. Naruto combed them slowly, drawing long arcs from start to finish. I calmed down, meditated, reflected. This was her time. Silence and twilight in the house, the reflection of dawn rays bursting into the open shoji. Together with the smell of magnolias and hydrangeas, a sweet, weightless and at the same time suffocating aroma. And the morning chill crept under my clothes, under my skin, and it covered my bare arms with tiny goosebumps. Naruto enjoyed the moments of silence. When no one bothers, when she is not yet the head of the Uchiha clan. At such moments the whole world around the room froze, people fussed, ran, went about their business, but in the limited space of the room belonging to the former Uzumaki, time seemed to slow down, becoming thick and viscous. And Naruto herself barely moved her hands, leisurely, stretching out moments of silence. The strands lay down one after another, combed, smooth, soft and velvety again. Itachi called them liquid silk, and recalled how the fourth Hokage loved to finger his wife's long red locks. There are few of them such memories, and even fewer people who are ready to share them with Naruto. Good morning. Sakura Haruno looked into the open doors. Surprisingly, the girl looked cheerful and lively. Naruto didn't even notice how she spent almost an hour thinking. During this time, the house was filled with lively bustle. Keiko was rattling dishes in the kitchen, Shursui was joking about something, and Karen's sleepy voice echoed him. And Sasuke is probably there. But none of them dared to disturb her peace. Good. Naruto waved her comb affably. Come on in, we'll have breakfast now. Oh, it's not worth it. Sakura was embarrassed and blushed. Naruto laughed. It's okay, we'll be happy. Go to the kitchen, tell me I'll change now and come down. Sakura nodded and disappeared. Naruto went up to her room. Sasuke made his bed, even fluffed the pillows. It was not for nothing that she chased him. A slight smile crossed his lips. Clean clothes cooled the skin, smelled of powder, sun and a little honey. Together with Sasuke, they climbed to collect it in the forest, from wild bees, on a bet. They peeled their hands off on the hard, rough bark, and then ran away from the angry flock with laughter, dived into the waterfall and for a long time, painfully pulled out the needles and leaves from their hair. Dark blue breeches and vest, black turtleneck and sandals. She personally stamped them, created spatial pockets, which she filled with weapons, medicines and pills. Some might say it's unfair? But they were specifically given a whole month to prepare. Do they really think that someone will come with bare hands or just learn new techniques? Preparation includes more than just that. She gathered her hair into a tight knot at the base of her skull, smooth and shiny, making sure not a single hair stuck out. And secured it with hairpins with explosive seals. Who said it had to be sheets of paper or scrolls? For few ninjutsu masters, nothing is impossible, the main thing is to have a rich imagination. And she applied poison to some of the heels. When she came down, the company had already moved into the living room. They were joined by Shikamaru and Choji, who bowed joyfully to the girl. Kakashi waved his hand, the outline of a sincere smile visible under his mask. They moved to make room next to Sasuke. "We came to wish you good luck," Kakashi explained, pushing a plate of soup towards him. Karen closely watched the man's manipulations, and she tried to catch the moment when the Jonin would be forced to pull off his mask to taste the dish. Kakashi saw this and teased her, deliberately slowly bringing pieces of vegetables to his mouth. It seemed as if the girl was even holding her breath. Shikamaru and Choji watched the performance unfold with interest, although the genius did not reveal himself. Sakura and Sasuke were no longer distracted. At one time, they spent a lot of effort to find out what Kakashi was hiding under the mask. They lost, realized, and didn't do it again. "Thank you, I'm very pleased that you came," Naruto smiled. "It's really nice when one big, friendly company gathers around the table. Almost like a family." They ate lunch leisurely. Choji crunched on chips out of nerves. Sasuke won himself a salad, his eyes sparkling suspiciously at anyone who might encroach on his tomato treasure. But he honestly allocated her portion to his sister, mostly cheese and 3 whole slices of vegetables. Literally tore me from my heart. And it seemed like everyone was having fun making fun of Sasuke, catching Kakashi, watching Karen's success in catching Kakashi, but there was tension in the air. Therefore, no one resisted when Naruto sent the clones to wash the dishes, and she herself ordered them to get ready for a special training ground. The guys stood up without objections and began to put on their shoes. Everyone was worried and worried. The same friendly group walked to the training ground. Naruto no, and she tracked the reactions of others to sure sway. Nothing suspicious, everyone was already accustomed to the constantly flashing mask of the copy shinobi, so another ninja with the same disguise did not surprise anyone. They just gossiped about possible family ties between these two. Keiko laughed like crazy when Naruto told her all the rumors that gave birth to the Uzumaki family in Konoha. To the point that the eldest is Shia's wife, and Karen is their illegitimate daughter. Keiko frowned and said that she did not suffer from pedophilia. After all, when Karen was born, Shursui should have been no more than 13 years old. "Don't worry, Naruto-san." Choji noticed her glancing around. "I didn't understand the reason, but I hastened to support." "Good boy, open. I'm sure you and Sasuke will do great." "Thank you, Choji." "And you, Shikamaru? Are you really going to fight?" She turned to the young genius. "After all, this is so problematic." The Konokovites unanimously picked up the mantra of the young Nar. He snorted with an independent air, but the tips of his ears still turned red. Sakura laughed cheerfully. And Kakashi quietly appeared next to Naruto, tucking a short strand of hair behind the girl's ear. "You are ready for any surprises, I know you." I tried to support her in my own way. Naruto smiled warmly, looking into her single gray eye. "I wonder how he sees her in the light of the Sharingan?" "Thank you, Kakashi-san." The closer they got to the exam site, the more lively the atmosphere became. People were looking forward to entertainment and interesting fights. Some took tickets a month or a month and a half in advance, when the time of the tests had just been announced. A wave of people flocked to the training ground, faces were shining, people were talking cheerfully and loudly. Many people placed bets. Automatically Naruto checked the posts. "ANBU, police, everyone is in place." Her people made sure that no one was trampled, that the spectators walked in the right direction, did not crowd, and did not swear. Luckily, the clan's reputation gradually leveled out. Naruto saw this by the way the residents of Konoha no longer flinched when figures with the symbols of the police and the Uchiha clan appeared. That's good. This means her labors are not in vain. Or maybe the whole point is that the police had little in common with the real Uchiha. No one suspected them of wearing the strongest dojutsu, since everyone knew that Sasuke was the last surviving Sharingan user. Surely, this also caused a thought towards the new Uchiha. Be that as it may, the situation did not become tense. On the contrary, it became easier. And Naruto could exhale when another day passed without complaints about the arbitrariness of the authorities. But there were some like that. Fortunately, the police were not to blame in all 3 cases. The battle was to be judged by a new judge, Shirani Ginma. Previous sick Gecko Hate died under unclear circumstances. He was found in the morning with his throat cut. Around the same time, promising physician Yakushi disappears from the hospital. Kabuto, he was prophesied to become an A-rank ironing. Kakashi said that he scared him away when he was planning to get close to the test results of Sasuke and Rock Lee. Veselchak Jounin Ginma moved the Senbon from one corner of his mouth to the other, and winked briefly at Naruto, as if reminding him of the holiday after the exam. In case of victory, celebration; in case of loss, sympathy. But there will still be gatherings. On the way to the training ground, all of Naruto's Jounin acquaintances had already managed to cheer him up. Even Yamato ran by in an ANBU mask. Guy screamed about the power of youth. Lee shook his crutches, said that he would definitely get sick and share his power with his friends. It's nice to feel that you are not alone, to feel the support of friends and comrades. In a monotone voice, Ginma explained the rules for the final stage of the competition and unfolded the battle plan. Sasuke Uchiha vs Hyuga Neji. The stands exploded with applause. In their releases, Sasuke and Neji were considered geniuses. Everyone was interested in watching the battle between representatives of two strong clans with pronounced dojutsu. And Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. With Neji, Sasuke can handle it. The Sharingan will help him. If he managed to copy Lee's movements during one of the training sessions, Neji is also tough for him. Shikamaru Nara vs Sabaku no Temari. Problematic, sighed Nara standing next to him. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle. What kind of guy is he after all? Shikamaru's dislike for women was known to everyone. He treated them condescendingly, to some extent even disgustingly. And he respected only two representatives of the fair sex, his own mother. Well, it's hard not to respect here, especially if you know the power of Mrs. Nara's blow and Naruto Uchiha. Naruto Uchiha vs Sabaku no Gaara. Her heart sank. Naruto involuntarily swallowed, feeling the blood drain from her face in a powerful stream. Only this was not enough for her. I wonder who made such a fuss to pit two Jinchuriki in a confrontation? No one knows about her interaction with the fox, therefore they are counting on the maximum and accidental release of Chakra Kyuubi. But as a demon, Kurama is stronger than Shikaku. He will cling to life until the last. She may well win, and thus deprive Suna of weapons and protect Konoha from him. In case of loss, no one will cry for the head of the Uchiha clan. They will take over the land and business. And Sasuke? They just didn't have time to save him, just like the fourth at one time. Naruto walked into a special corridor designed for waiting for her turn, leaned against the wall, and rubbed her temples. She seems to be getting paranoid. As she had imagined, Neji's fight with Sasuke was spectacular. A clash of interests and two very proud people. The battle was not even about the title, but about his own reputation as a genius. Neji is definitely strong. Naruto found Hayashi in the stands Hyuga, next to whom sat a pale-eyed, expressionless girl, probably Hanabi. The clan head's face expressed nothing, but Naruto noted that he was amazed by Neji's knowledge of the clan's secret technique. Only representatives of the main branch of the clan could apply for the strikes of heaven, and not all of them. And here's such a surprise. The Uchiha grinned maliciously. Serves him right. Her main opponent in the Council of Clans. Sasuke silently, with a gloomy grin, copied all of Neji's movements and responded to him, blocking any blow, preventing him from reaching and knocking out the Tenketsu. He won't be able to restart the chakra system. He's not a medic, so it's better not to expose himself. The Sharingan allowed him to notice even the fastest movements, catch where they were directed and dodge or block. Lovely. But Neji clearly did not expect the explosion of the seals attached to his back. As well as the fact that while he takes them off, several more will explode under his feet. Naruto was happy. She was proud of her little brother. Not so stupid anymore, no matter what Itachi said. Sasuke raised his hand when the judge declared Neji the loser. And he proudly walked towards the darkened corridor where Naruto was waiting for her turn. As soon as he stepped out from under the guns of numerous glances, he broke into a wide, childish grin and threw himself on the girl's neck. Sister, you saw it! He gasped with delight. Adrenaline was still raging in his blood, mixed with excitement. There is nothing better than a worthy opponent. I saw it! Naruto patted his hair. I'm proud of you, stupid little brother. Sasuke wrinkled his nose, as in childhood, but his joy did not allow him to be offended for too long. He was ready to do a victory dance. Great, Sasuke! Lee flew up to them, or rather, hobbled. He patted his bandaged hand on his comrade's shoulder. Thank you? The Uchiha mask had not yet returned. Sasuke was ready to embrace the whole world. And Naruto watched the fight between Shikamaru and Temari. Genius, what else can you say about Nara? Using logic and a clever combination of moves, he came up with a win-win plan. But then refused from victory. Problematic, the boys nearby said and laughed. What difference does it make that Nara was credited with defeat? It's his choice. Besides, Rock may not have understood, because he was indignant at the genius of Nara, but Sasuke knew that the main thing in battle is not victory. You need to show your abilities, the ability to calculate the situation, make combinations and plans. Nara is the best at this. The Uchiha had no doubt that his friend would receive the vest. An amazing plan, Shikamaru. Naruto hugged the guy. Thank you, Naruto-san. The genius sincerely thanked. And good luck. You will need it. Naruto sighed. The next fight was hers. Be careful, sister, Sasuke said quietly with concern. The rest of the boys walked away, leaving their relatives alone. I don't like him. Everything will be fine. I won't leave you, Sasuke-chan. Naruto hugged her rough, prickly brother, and he, to her surprise, did not break away, although he did not tolerate displays of tenderness in public. So, he was really afraid. And we will definitely celebrate your victory, and Shikamaru's Chunin vest, and eat a sea of sweets for Lee's recovery. This is the right attitude. Genma approached them, chewing samban. And you will definitely check in at the restaurant that Anko chose. She was already buzzing all her ears that dango was sweeter and sake was hotter. Naruto laughed and nodded. Necessarily. If Mitarashi cooks his signature camp porridge. Jonin's face twisted so that the boys looked at him with keen interest. I said let's celebrate, not get poisoned, he muttered. Naruto walked out onto the platform and closed her eyes against the bright sun. The stands greeted her with shouts and applause. The two, green, benches tried the hardest, the Jonins chanted something in support. And the police became active and crawled closer to the scene of action. Not only to look at, but also to protect if necessary. Ryuyu-san pointedly placed his hand on his short sword. Naruto nodded curtly. Gaara was already standing opposite him and looked, strange to say the least. He swayed slightly and whispered something. Apparently, he was brought to the extreme stage by his own comrades from Suna. Genma gave the go-ahead and quickly ran away. Naruto barely had time to jump up when a wave of sand rustled past her. She dodged again and again, using the sand itself as support. She pushed away from him, feeling the prickly, hostile chakra under her feet. The one tail imbued the weapon with its power, as did Gaara's sand armor. Blood was rushing sharply in my ears, and adrenaline gradually took over my mind with the fever of battle. Naruto breathed evenly, saved her strength and breath, calculated the attack options, but such games of catch-up, on the verge of life and death, when one wrong move could end in crushed limbs, were fun. And scary at the same time. A sweet mixture of horror and excitement. And this is not acquired, this is the psychology of Uzumaki, scarlet demons, innate, so to speak. She liked to fight, she liked to take risks when you realized there was no risk. That her clan members will ensure her without fail. And the enemy is simply strong, but his mind is not focused, he is too busy with the internal struggle. It's not easy to defeat someone like that, but it's possible. It seemed as if the wall under her feet sprung and pushed the girl away. She slipped under a wave of sand, almost right next to her, and felt the grains of sand scratching the skin of her cheeks. She was significantly inferior in speed to Lee, and could not get close to the enemy so as not to get hit. All that remained was to act from afar. She landed and met the next wave with a hurricane bursting out of her mouth. The moan of the wind sent cutting blades of air, and the kunoichi herself, as if casually, was approaching. The ninja cut the streams of sand in half, they forked and twisted again behind his back, like dangerous, poisonous snakes. I also had to dodge them. I tore off a couple of hairpins and threw them into the sand. It exploded with a deafening roar. Naruto took advantage of the resulting dust curtain to get close and strike. Only at the last second did Garam manage to deflect the ninja's blade. But from the handle a hot pepper hit his eyes. The Jinchuriki sneezed and began to rub the damaged areas. And he was forced to go on the defensive. This is what Naruto wanted. She jumped back and formed a shadow copy of Shuriken, strengthening it with wind, as in training. This was the first time she used this technique seriously. Numerous bluish blades with pointed sharp blows pierced Gaara's defense and threw the Jinchuriki himself to the wall. The next batch of shadow spears riddled his body and made a hole in the thick wall. The stones crashed to the ground and crushed the sand copy. The stands, which had previously been stunnedly silent, howled and clapped. Therefore, the snow-white feathers gliding in the air came as a surprise. The screams stopped instantly, and the people fell asleep. The training ground was covered by a powerful genjutsu. Naruto created a dispelling seal with an effort of will. She saw that the police were already busy evacuating, and nodded approvingly. Naruto-sama, giant summoning snakes are storming the borders of Konoha. Ryuya-san came down to her. What will be the orders? Sasuke also ran up to his sister and froze tensely. The priority task is to evacuate people to shelters, Naruto said, scanning the area in search of Jinchuriki. Do not interfere in fights. Yes, Shinobi Shunshin moved to the scene of action. Naruto turned to her brother and classmates. Sasuke, grab the others and run for cover. But Sasuke, the girl narrowed her eyes. These are not toys. Shikamaru. I understand. The genius nodded. If necessary, he will drag his brother away with a shadow grab. Naruto won the short duel of glances. Sasuke recognized her superiority, and probably saw the fear in his sister's eyes. Now he was her weak spot. In battles of this scale, they still have nothing to do, their level of abilities is not the same. The boys disappeared, and Naruto made a seal of concentration. She did not feel the Jinchuriki. Sand was falling from the wall, from which the last crumbs of chakra were slowly disappearing. If she destroyed the clone, then where is Gaara himself? She fired the sensor probe to a 50-meter radius. There is nothing. And on the roof of the nearest house an epic event unfolded. Sannin Orochimaru has finally thrown off his Kazekage mask. And he talked relatively peacefully with the third, who had changed into a combat uniform. In the midst of the reigning devastation and panic, the rushing Jounin who ensured the safety of the civilian population and important people, they looked a little strange. 2 coffins emerged from the tiles, obeying the call of Orochimaru. The third one was stuck, the Hokage did not allow it to open. It's a pity. Naruto felt a slight annoyance as she stretched her sensor field in search of the Jinchuriki. One-tailed. It wouldn't hurt to see Dad. At least to open your eyes to his naivety. First and second Hokage, Hashirama and Tobirama Senju, which she had only read about in textbooks. Their power was amazing. Without moving a finger or a muscle, they projected a field of such power that everyone around 10 meters was nailed to the ground. Tobirama's cold, burning rage made him want to curl up into a ball and whine like a beaten dog. Who said ice and water don't burn? Hashirama had not yet come to his senses, but his energy was calming, softer than that of his brother. And she wanted to trust, believe, and obey. Unconditionally. It is clear why at one time even the demon Uchiha followed him. Why are you frozen? Keiko landed nearby. I'm looking for Jinchuriki. Sensor adjusted her glasses and looked around. Finally she nodded to herself and waved her hand, indicating the direction. There. Then she looked at the head. Are you not going to help the Hokage? Good question. Orochimaru surrounded the battlefield with an impenetrable barrier. the basis of which were his pawn puppets from the village of Sound. It is not difficult for a seal master to crack it. Even with Naruto's little knowledge compared to the Maelstrom Masters and Keiko's narrow specialization, both could come to Sarutobi's aid. But Naruto had another goal. Only she with Fox Chakra can cope with the distraught Jinchuriki. The rest of Shikaku are too tough. Although, it's nice to kill two birds with one stone. In this situation, literally kill. Naruto quickly calculated the options for the development of events. The Hokage guards were on duty near the barrier, but they could do nothing to help their superiors. The third will not be able to cope with the first and second alone, which means he is using the same technique. Summoning the god of death Shinigami. Naruto heard about her when she was told about the fox's attack. Father traded his soul to seal some chakra in a kyubi, and the second to drag into the pure world. Shinigami doesn't care who his opponent is, as long as he is paid tribute. She expressed these thoughts to her friend. Perhaps everything will be different. The Uchiha pursed her lips. But if Sarutobi still accepts the summoning seal, break the barrier and do everything possible so that he has enough strength to drag Orochimaru with him. I understand. The woman nodded curtly. I obey. This was not a betrayal, since Keiko swore her first and only oath of allegiance to Naruto. For Uzumaki, nothing was more important than family, honor, and his own pride. They could become Nukenin, they could betray the daimyo and Kage, but never those to whom they entrusted their lives. Therefore, Keiko will follow any orders from Naruto, no matter what. A huge raven circled over the field. Naruto jumped onto it and showed the direction. Out of the corner of my eye I noticed a red-haired shadow that jumped onto the roof towards the third. My own prudence made me sick and a disgusting feeling appeared. Naruto pushed it much deeper. Then she will regret it. Maybe she will get drunk, but that will be later. Now the main thing is to find Gaara. The Jinchuriki was unstable. His chakra surged out in spurts, pulsated and burned. His brother and sister grabbed him and dragged him away from the village so that his release would not hurt anyone. And Gaara himself wanted to be somewhere in the forest. Naruto felt chakra surges Shikaku while she was flying on a crow. 2 kilometers from Konoha, she found the bodies of Temari and Kankuro. I jumped down to them and checked their pulse. Both were alive, but lost consciousness. Apparently, the brother put a lot of pressure on them, trying to either save them or kill them. It's not clear. Naruto barely managed to dodge the wave of sand. Gaara almost completely lost himself. Half of his body was covered with blue patterns, his eye became black, with a yellow diamond-shaped pupil. Frighteningly not human. Naruto shook her head. Stop, please. You're not bad. She tried to get through. I'm a monster. And the voice is hoarse, scary, chilling to the bones with frost. Naruto shivered and dodged another wave. They wanted to kill me in my mother's womb. I want more blood, even more blood. There was no longer any control. Gaara disappeared, fell asleep, dissolved in the essence of his demon. The transformation took place completely. A sand raccoon in blue streaks Shikaku rose above the forest. Still defective, one-sided, one of his paws merged with his body and could not separate. On top of his head, half fused into the sand, Gaara slept, thrashing about like an unconscious doll. The raccoon hit itself on the belly with its paw. A dull sound was heard, like the beating of a leather drum. A clot of compressed air escaped from the teeth-bearing mouth of a cave. He rushed towards Naruto's raven, while making a wide clearing. Accompanied by the crackling of trees, the girl flew up to the heavens. The next bullet shot upward like a fountain. The raven spread its wings and flew up into the air with the rising air current. From the sharp turn the feathers stood up almost vertically on end. And fragmentary fragments of Shikaku's air core finally reached Naruto. They cut the turtleneck at the shoulders, touching the ribs. The girl hissed. Kurama, can you envelop the raven with your chakra? After asking permission from Sin, Naruto turned to the fox. It's an experiment, but she simply can't do it alone. The fox remained silent, but the black glossy feathers shone with the orange shine of bubbling chakra. Naruto felt like she was literally being torn to pieces by a powerful stream coming from within. Even though Kyuubi was diligently loosening the seal, its throughput was still not very high. And the Jinchuriki herself suffered from this. Spit! Can handle it. Gritting her teeth, Naruto jumped down. 1,000 shadow copies of shuriken rushed towards Shikaku. The raccoon shot them down with another bullet on approach, but was distracted by a raven shrouded in chakra biju. He turned around, bared his teeth, and tried to brush off the misfortune with his paw. And Naruto kept flying and flying. Her eyes watered from the wind, her lips were dry, but she flew down to Gaara. The ninja slid into his hand easily, as if he was just waiting for it. And the air around moaned and sang, responding to the name of the ancient weapon. For the not completely freed Shikaku, Gaara is the only vulnerable link. As long as the host-demon connection exists, one can win. The main thing is not to give up. Right next to the raccoon's forehead, she turns over, lands on his rustling, sandy body, slows him down with chakra, and removes the recoil, although his feet ache painfully. The sword enters Gaara, but the dogs stun him easily and smoothly, as if cutting through butter. Naruto calmly looked at the thick streaks of blood flowing down the shiny, sharp blade. Exactly in the heart, as I learned from mannequins and training straw dummies. Shikaku howled and Gaara's eyes widened. He saw the blade and the girl, and smiled slightly. Naruto saw farewell gratitude in her pale green eyes. Shinobi are tenacious creatures, but even they cannot withstand direct damage to the heart. Gaara hung like a puppet whose strings had been cut off. Naruto jumped from the raccoon's forehead. She was picked up by a raven, from which the chakra shell had already disappeared. Sun looked battered and burned in places. Delicate pink flesh peeked out from under the feathers. And it wasn't so much that Shikaku tried, but that the evil chakra of the Nine Tails burned him. I'm sorry. Naruto touched the raven's head and opened her reserves more strongly, channeling her own chakra, colored by the wind, into the call. Shikaku howled and thrashed about. And gradually he disappeared, was showered with sand, did not die, he simply dissolved in the universe, so that one day he would be reborn somewhere else. Naruto felt how this place was being torn out of the world, how a hole was being made into which a huge clot of furious chakra was being sucked in, which in essence was the raccoon. He won't be reborn any time soon. Gaara fell down onto the grass between the trees. After some time, the brother and sister, who had woken up, rushed to him. Naruto didn't bother to look to see what would happen next. Sun turned around and carried her to Konoha. Part of the village was covered in ruins and ashes. Broken houses, damaged border barrier. Orochimaru's snakes had a lot of fun. Naruto landed not far from the destroyed part of the village, released Sun, and thanked the elder from the bottom of her heart. This was the only thing she had the strength for. Everything inside seemed to have burned out. Ryuya-san immediately came down to her with a report. He noted the head's condition with alarm, but said nothing, for which the girl was grateful to him. There are almost no civilian casualties. We managed to remove most of the population from the attack. The shinobi were taken to the hospital. Sasuke-kun and his friends were taken to the clan quarter. He's waiting for you at the mansion. The third Hokage died, but with the help of Shinigami he managed to defeat Orochimaru and the summoned first and second. Are there any casualties among ours? 2 people have minor fractures. The squad medic has already healed everything. Dry, short, concise. Naruto nodded. Monitor the return of people from the shelter and the distribution of those who lost their homes as a result of snake attacks. We may need Tenzo's help. The girl rubbed her forehead. Okay, we'll see further there. For now, do what I said. Yes, yes. Ryuya-san bowed curtly and disappeared. Naruto's Shunshin moved to the mansion. The barrier let her through easily, counting chakra. Sasuke immediately rushed to his sister and looked at the wounds with alarm. Some had already healed. Thank you, Kurama. Sister, everything is fine, Naruto smiled palely. I'm just a little tired. Rest, boys, there is food in the refrigerator. We will find it, Naruto-san. Shikamaru came out to them. Sasuke nodded and pursed his lips decisively. Naruto slowly, with a straight back and proudly straightened shoulders, walked up to her office. I didn't want to bring that smell of blood, that feeling of dirt into there and Itachi's bedroom. As soon as the door closed, she slid down the wall to the floor and covered her mouth with her hands. Before that, she had never had to kill, to feel the blade entering her body, softly, pliably, with the goal of ending a life. She had not encountered this side of shinobi life before. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Naruto covered her mouth with both hands, trying to suppress muffled sobs so that no one would hear the evidence of her weakness. You cannot put the responsibility for a strong clan on your shoulders and remain pure. You can't intrigue without getting dirty. It is forbidden. Before that, she somehow managed to get around the murders, not commit them with her own hands. She dealt with papers, documents, and weapons, but did not kill. Naruto was crying, mourning her first victim, a child just like herself. Jinchuriki one-tailed. And she remembered the dimming look of her expressionless green eyes, as if lined with black mascara. Tomorrow she will be strong again. Tomorrow she will be Naruto again, Uchiha. Such is the life of a shinobi, eternal struggle, war. But today she has the right to mourn a little girl, a fighting and determined, but still somewhere childishly naive Uzumaki. Which sharp had to mature.